Well, a new group aimed at encouraging independent candidates in Indiana will launch a statewide ad campaign. Independent Indiana's ad is meant to highlight the appeal of nonpartisan leaders. Executive Director Nathan Gotch says the ad features residents of Huntington, a city led by two-term Mayor Richard Strick, who ran as an independent.
Letting people know what it feels like to live in a community that's being led by an independent elected official. And the people that we're featuring in this ad, they're very open and honest about how amazing that it is.
Gotch, a former independent congressional candidate, acknowledges that Indiana's straight ticket voting system, where people can press one button to vote for members of a party rather than looking at each race, is a challenge. But he says part of Independent Indiana's mission is to let candidates and voters know that running as an independent is a viable option.
I talk to elected officials all across the state, and many of them say to me, I don't have the freedom to vote or to legislate or to govern in the way that I think is best for my constituents because I'm feeling the pressure from the parties.
Gotch says hundreds of independent candidates have run in Indiana over the last 2 election cycles, and more than half won their races. Oshia, are independent candidates really all that viable, sort of higher up the ballot in Indiana when we have straight ticket voting?
I think we're beginning to see that they're more viable than what we once thought. I didn't realize there were 244 independent candidates who are in elected office, over half. I didn't realize that because I've always felt like, it's just straight ticket Democrats and Republicans. I think what we're finding out, though, is people are disenchanted with both parties. People are not happy with either one, and they want a different choice. Whether that is, whether people are happy with that or accept it, that's just what it is. And I think we'll see that more people will decide to run independently because they have decided that you're not meeting my needs. And so I think the voters will then say, okay, I want to vote for someone who is not aligned with either party, because both parties tend to be very divisive about topics and issues that people feel like you're not answering me. You're not talking to the issue that I'm concerned about. We have a lot of problems in Indiana, and we don't seem to have a lot of good answers from either party. That's what I'm hearing from a lot of people.
A lot of the folks who are independents who are in an elected office in Indiana tend to be at the local government level, right, which in many ways makes a lot of sense because they tend to be less politically charged, and so it's really more about the issues than anything else. But is an organization like this and the work it wants to do, can that make a difference in terms of getting people to even put themselves out as independent candidates?
I think so. I mean, I will say that some of the, and I haven't looked at all 244 of them, but a number of them were longtime Republicans who then decided to run as an independent. I'm not sure if that matters per se, but I'm just saying they had a long history of being related to one side or even the other. But I mean, I think it's great to get out the information to show that this is an option. I do think straight ticket voting, though, there's a ceiling on these things because of that.
I think there's a ceiling statewide for the foreseeable future, but it can make a big difference at the local level. I think particularly in 2026, when the Christian nationalists try to take over the school boards with the partisan elections. I think you could see a whole group of independent candidates concerned about that Christian nationalist message of Micah Beckwith and taking control of the school boards come out to vote for independent candidates.
Straight ticket voting isn't the only barrier, if you think of it that way, to independent candidates. They have to, get signatures to get on the ballot a little bit, sometimes a little bit at a higher threshold than traditional parties. Fundraising is arguably harder because you don't have sort of the party apparatus to draw on. Do independent candidates need a kind of breakthrough, like at a state house seat level?
Well, the libertarians have been trying this
for
a long time. And I think one of the things Nikki said made me think of this. I think what is so different in politics now from even 2 or 3 generations ago is that political parties used to be top-down organizations. Right, and now they are very much. I mean, who are politicians, afraid of? Who are they listening to? Their base. Yeah. Right. This stuff comes from the bottom. In Indiana, at least, I mean, we are such an overwhelming Republican state that straight ticket or not, people are asking, well, what do you think of President Trump? What do you think of here? These are some threshold questions that people go through. So I'm not sure that this is a libertarian style, whether we call it that or independent, right? Independent style political party. I just think this has to do with how people identify in the real world right now.
I don't think they're trying to start a party by
No,
any means. They're
no.
just going to be a resource for candidates
Yeah.
going. And they're going to poll, and they're going to ask young people why they don't vote. And if we can encourage anybody to vote in this state, I mean, we're at the bottom of the states in terms of turnout. Of course, we make it as difficult as we can. But, you know, those kinds of things, if the reasons are there, and they can be told through this statewide messaging that their vote can make a difference, which I think is going to be the answer you're given most often. It doesn't make a difference.
To the point Joey brought up about the Libertarian Party, because I had the same thought. We haven't seen Libertarians have a ton of success, certainly not at higher levels in Indiana. But is it a very different sort of creature when you aren't affiliated with any sort of party at all versus there's, you know, the Libertarians, while they're a third party, they're still a party, whereas independents are.
Yeah, I was going to say the signature requirements are very high, especially when you're getting into statewide offices and things like that. So that's going to be hard for an independent to do.